Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a pretty radical vision for global finance. It's an idea that says you can use Bitcoin to fix what its architect, Michael Saylor, sees as a fundamentally broken system. He's calling it the digital credit revolution. All right, let's just jump right in with a fact from Saylor that honestly kind of frames this entire problem. He says, look at a place like Switzerland. If you're holding millions of dollars in a bank there, you're not earning interest. No, the bank is actually charging you to hold your money. The yields are negative. And for Saylor, this isn't just some weird quirk, it's a massive red flag. He argues this points to a much bigger problem he calls financial repression. It's this situation where governments and central banks are basically forcing interest rates down to artificially low levels, which, really punishes anyone trying to save money. He sees the whole traditional credit system as being, well, sick. And his cure? A total digital overhaul with Bitcoin as the engine. And this slide really nails the contrast. On one side, you've got the old school legacy markets. They're slow, they're murky, and the returns are basically zero, or like we just said, even negative. But on the other side is Saylor's vision, a digital credit market that's lightning fast, totally transparent, and, this is the key part, offers way, way higher yields. So you might be asking, okay, who's actually going to build this new system? Well, according to Saylor, you can forget about the old guard, the big established players. He thinks this change is going to be driven by three totally new categories of companies that he calls Bitcoin Treasury companies. And what's super interesting is how he breaks these new players down. He's basically saying it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. Instead, we're going to see a whole spectrum of companies pop up, and they'll all be categorized by just how deep they're willing to go with this Bitcoin strategy. And here's that breakdown. Right at the top, you've got the pure play companies. These guys are laser focused on this model and nothing else. And in his view, these are the ones with the potential to be the next Mag 7 type stocks with absolutely massive returns. We're talking 100x, maybe even 1000x. Then, a step down, you have the strong players. They adopt the strategy in a big way, but it's not their only thing. They're aiming for a solid 10 to 20x growth. And finally, you have the diversified companies. They're just using Bitcoin to support their main business, so it's lower risk with more modest 2 to 4 times returns. Okay, so let's get into the actual business model and see how this thing gets built. You might expect this to be incredibly complicated, right? But what Saylor lays out is a playbook that's, well, it's surprisingly simple. It's designed to be a repeatable formula for super fast growth. He really boils the entire strategy down to this simple but powerful 4-step engine. Step 1, you raise money by selling equity in your company. Step 2, you take that cash and you buy Bitcoin. Step 3, and this is the magic trick, you issue a brand new kind of credit that's backed by the Bitcoin you just bought. And the final step, you just rinse and repeat. It creates this growth flywheel that can just keep on spinning. So let's talk about this new financial product because it's absolutely crucial. The easiest way to think about it is like a money market fund, but instead of being backed by boring old traditional assets, it's backed by Bitcoin. The whole point is to strip away the crazy short-term price swings of Bitcoin and give investors the thing that really matters, a yield that just blows away anything you can get in the legacy system. Saylor is so bullish on this refined playbook that he basically says any new company could come along, follow these steps, and not just replicate, but actually surpass what his own company has done and do it way, way faster. He's arguing they can skip all the years of trial and error that his team had to go through. All right, now let's zoom all the way out to the end game. Because for Saylor, this isn't just about creating a few new cool companies. No, this is about fundamentally reshaping and reinvigorating the entire global financial system. The scale he's talking about is just staggering. He sees the Bitcoin network itself becoming a multi-hundred trillion dollar network. And on top of that, he imagines a digital credit market that could hit 10, 20, maybe even $100 trillion in size. All of it built on Bitcoin as the foundational layer of digital capital. But what about security? I mean, that's the big question with any new financial product, right? What's the risk? Well, Saylor's model tackles this head-on. This digital credit would be designed to be 2 times over-collateralized by Bitcoin. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that's right up there with the best of the best. AAA-rated corporate debt, which is often collateralized at about 2.5 times. It's designed to be truly investment grade. And the ripple effect wouldn't just stop with the credit markets. He sees this transformation spreading everywhere, to banking, to insurance, even to major stock indexes. The idea is, as more of these new Bitcoin treasury companies get listed on the stock market, they'll eventually become part of big indexes like the S&P 500, and that's going to fundamentally change what those indexes even look like.
So, what does this all boil down to for the average person and the economy as a whole? Well, this slide pretty much sums it up. He foresees a world where your savings account could actually yield something like 6 to 10% instead of, nothing. Where banking and insurance can offer you much better products, and where the entire economy becomes, in his own words, smarter, faster, and stronger.
Now, to really underscore what he thinks the stakes are, Saylor uses this incredibly stark and provocative analogy. He claims that entire economies are going to face a choice. You either join this new, more productive digital system, or you risk getting locked off the power grid and left behind in a world that's slow, weak, and poor. And so, after all that, this entire massive vision really comes down to one monumental question. It's a bold, truly transformative idea. The suggestion that a digital asset could move from the fringes of finance to become the actual foundation of our 21st century economy. And whether or not that vision becomes a reality, well, that's the story that's still being written.